Dukes, take us through the combine, baby.
Take us through the combines, Phillip Dukes.
Look, so serious business. When so the first person I went to go talk to when I got to the combine was Coach Steph, who was the pre-draft trainer at XP facility where Lajohntay, Will Shepherd, and Jimmy Horn Jr. trained. You can go check out that interview on my channel. You can also, matter of fact, we need to run that on pregame. But in speaking to him, he was saying what he was expecting the 40 times to be. He said Jimmy was running 4.3s. Now he had some inconsistent times where he ran some 4.4s, but Jimmy was expecting to run a 4.3. So even though the 4.46 was a good number, he was disappointed because he's a 4.3 guy. What he lost in technique, he lost those tenths of a second. But his acceleration, once he gets started, in all of his routes, the field drills, Jimmy Horn looks so explosive. And when you look at when you talk about the combine, he had two numbers that stuck out. He was top 6 in both of these: broad jump and vertical jump. Those are explosive numbers. What they got, as you know, when you measure that, you will never broad jump in an NFL game. They're only measuring how explosive you are and the type of torque you can get out of your hips that you can create on your own to show your explosion and what your top rate can and how fast can you get to your top rate. Jimmy Horn showed that he was probably one of the most explosive receivers at the entire combine. Another thing that he did really well was the gauntlet. Didn't drop nothing in the gauntlet. And I think that he surprised people with his route running ability. So for some that thought they were disappointed in Jimmy Horn's time at the combine, he can fix that at Colorado's Pro Day. He don't have to run again. Like 4.46 with a slot guy. Now we're talking about somebody who's primarily going to be in the slot. We're talking about the Wes Welkers of the world. We're talking about guys who are primarily running routes in 10 yards or shorter routes primarily, and somebody who you want to get the ball in their hands as quick as you can. He's also, but that explosion, what it showed you was he's going to help you in the return game. And I think that Jimmy Horn really had a great combine. He's going to be able to expound upon that 40 time when he gets to Colorado's Pro Day. So I think he had an overall successful combine. Now, Lajohntay Wester, same time, but it had a different impact. People thought that Lajohntay was a 4.5. He came into this thing having to prove his speed, and they knew that he was going. XPE had him circled. Like, hey, Lajohntay ran some 4.4 flats. He actually could run again. I wouldn't advise him to. From everybody I talked to who was at the combine, that 4.46 would look good, especially when he doesn't have to decelerate in order to get into his breaks. He was one of the most fluid route runners in the entire combine and was so impressive. There's insiders. Lajohntay had some buzz where he helped himself to the point where, and I want to make this point, Adam Schefter said that from the 10th pick to the 40th pick or the mid-30s, the players are the same. The value in this draft is in the mid-rounds. If you get to a point where a specific team has a need to be filled and you say, okay, I want a guy who can play slot and perimeter, Lajohntay Wester is going to be in that conversation. No, he didn't have the explosive numbers that Jimmy had, but what he did show was that he's a fluid receiver, and by him being able to run that deep out without having to decelerate, he's showing you that he can also play in the perimeter. He's the type of guy that you want to be able to have in a 2-minute drill where he can get open in the phone booth. It doesn't matter how fast you are. You don't know where I'm going next because I don't have to change speeds. And that's a God-given talent that he has. And I think he did a great job using the full complement of his catch radius as well.
Yeah, I have to agree with that, Dukes. I think taking it player by player, I'll start with Jimmy Horn Jr. first. You have this thing out there called expectations, and sometimes expectations can be false ones. Like if someone expected Chico to get on here and not tell some crazy ass story, it's just an expectation that's not going to be lived up to. So you're setting yourself up for it.
Come on now, dog.
I think a lot of people went into this combine wishing, hoping, pulling for Jimmy Horn, and thereby expecting like a 4.3. And when they saw 4.4 something, disappointment kicked in, not understanding, as Chico and I discussed last night, that is a great damn number for his position. And I think the number when he gets to the Pro Day at Colorado some weeks from now with some more training, brushing up on technique, is going to even go down. But the biggest thing for me that Jimmy Horn Jr. has going for him is his impression in the interviews, his work ethic, and his actual game film. Like, you see his ability to run routes. You see the explosion that comes out in a test when you put on game film and you see his separation after the catch. He's going to be just fine. You go to Lajohntay Wester, and West Lajohntay had a lot of game film doing what he's doing. Second on the team receptions only to Travis Hunter. Big game-changing, game-even winning receptions at that. You look at his route running and the things he brings to the table, you weren't expecting, again, the key word here, expectations. You weren't expecting that kind of 40 time from him. He then gives it to you. You augment that with his game film, and he's fine. I do think both of these brothers are going to be, of course, at Pro Day in Colorado. I think both of them are going to show even more flash and ability because you'll be in your home environment. And most importantly, you'll be with your quarterback. Like, you on the same page with a Shedeur Sanders. And here's why that matters, folks. When you're in the NFL, you're not going out there week 1 or week 2 playing with some guy you've never played with before. You're playing with somebody you got chemistry with. And so the true evaluation is at the college's pro day because you see these people working with the people that they play with, which is a direct mirror of what happens in a game in the NFL. When you get to the combine, you got some dude you don't even know throwing to you. You know, you don't know how his ball comes out of his hand. Pause, no diddy. You ain't used to the rotation of it. And so there's a lot of things that you have to go like, okay, you know, I see what I wanted to see. That's a check mark. But just because I didn't see what I was expecting doesn't mean it's a blemish. Like, you really have to take it case by case, based most importantly on what did I see from this guy in actual film from game. And I think this, Dukes, and I'll leave it right here. The other thing for Jimmy Horn Jr., because he missed so many games with the injury, just showing that he is damn healthy and can run and do these things raises his stock.
Absolutely. And I want to give a shout out to the Colorado faithful, man. Nobody got the, you know who got the loudest reception at the entire combine? Shedeur Sanders. When they showed him walking with Jimmy Horn, that was the loudest. The one who actually performed, Jimmy and Lajohntay, it had that thing sounding like it was a home game for their 40 time. So the Colorado faithful, like, that was such a great showing with all of these. I know multiple first rounders from next year or freshmen that were at the combine that wanted to come get a feel for it. But them being able to see that all the high schools that were there, because the combine is a free event. So there were a lot of local high schools there. There were a lot of players from the Atlanta area that came up with the Deion podcast. Shout out to the Deion, but they brought 8 guys. They had a couple of 4-stars in the building. They were able to see how Colorado travels even to the combine. So I think that's the way that they showed up for those guys. For 2 guys now, they showed up for Jimmy and Lajohntay. I'm talking about Saturday was packed, bro. Like, when those guys ran, you could tell the difference. So I just want to give a shout out to the Colorado faithful, man, because they showed up and showed out for their guys.